name is Andrew, and this is the Who Dat Discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast where we talk about all Saints news, opinions, and reactions. So before we get into some, Saints news and a preview of Saints versus Vikings, I just want to say, thank you to the Who Dat and NYC podcast for having me on, his podcast on, I believe, Tuesday, right after the Eli Apple news dropped. We did a preview of the Saints-Vikings game. We also did a recap of Saints-Ravens, and then, we talked about the Eli Apple trade, all the analysis there. He just does a great job. He has a lot of great takes. I mean, just all his episodes are really, really good, but I just like one particular episode. Obviously, check out the one I am, and obviously, I feel like that was a good episode, but also, check out the one where he talks about how Drew Brees is up there for the GOAT conversation. To me, he just dropped straight facts in that episode, and he does a really, really good job explaining and giving Brees the argument, because, a lot of people don't think Brees is the GOAT, and I think he does a really good job to illustrate why, there's an argument for him being the greatest of all time. But, I just feel like Chris does a great job on there. I think you should all check out the Who Dat NYC podcast. And now, also, if you like our podcast and you haven't followed us already, you can follow us on Twitter at the Who Dat Dis, on Instagram at Who Dat Discussion. Also, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Google Play channel, our Spotify channel, whatever you listen to on there. Just, please check it out. We're growing at, to me, a pretty good, rate right now. Our last couple episodes have been, a lot of people have been listening. And that's just, to me, it's amazing just to know that, Saints fans are watching. Our last, episode, look, I don't really want to talk about this much, but our last episode just did really, really great. And I'm happy that a lot of Saints fans are listening. Obviously, we're doing well. And, I just want to share it with a lot of other people. And I think, right now, if I can share this journey with all these Saints fans, it's just a dream come true right now. And it's just great. So, with all that said, I think we should get right into some Saints news. And, there's just one big piece of Saints news, that's really going to take up most of our news segment. And that it's going to be the Saints traded for, cornerback Eli Apple from the New York Giants for a 4th rounder and a 7th rounder. So I did talk about it on the Who Dat and NYC podcast as well. So, you can check that out if you want another, viewpoint there. But I feel like looking at him, he's looking at his stats. This year he has 23 tackles, 5 pass deflections. He doesn't have any picks. He has a forced fumble. He did miss 2 weeks, so he's only played about 4 or 5 weeks. So that means he's about a pass deflection a game. And that's, look, he's a pretty good defender. He's had a bad year last year. His first year, he was good. Very, very good. He could play both the slot and the outside. It seems like the Saints are going to play him on outside. At first, I thought he was going to play the slot for us, but now it looks like he will play the outside. Just looking at it, I feel like he could be a really, really big piece to our team, especially going down the stretch and, getting our defense to be where it needs to be. Looking at it, Crawley has regressed, and that's nothing else we can say. And Eli Apple's going to be better than him. We know that, I think, coming into it, especially what Eli Apple's been playing. And I think, his big issues, look, he doesn't turn his head always. That's obviously a big issue. But then, really looking at his issues is, commitment-wise, he's taken off plays. He hasn't been able to really, pull in full gear in the last couple of years because the Giants haven't been good. Landon Collins called him a cancer. This is just not good stuff coming from him. But I think that's going to all change when he plays with, Marshawn Lattimore played with in college opposite of him. So they've already played together. They have a lot of chemistry there. He's also played with Von Bell before. And then, Kirk Coleman also from Ohio State. That's obviously, big pluses there. He's playing with a lot of Ohio State players. That's really good for him. I feel it's going to be good for his morale. And it's going to make him play his best. And that's why I think he's going to succeed the most. I think Dennis Allen will put him in better places. I think, we have better coaching than them, too. So I think we'll coach him up to be the best cornerback he can be. And I think he has a ton of talent. He's a first-round talent. He's top 10 talent. He's in a draft. He's picked top 10. And I think that he has top 10 talent. And I think he's going to show it as a Saint. I think he's going to be a really good pickup here. We only gave up a 4th and a 7th. That's nothing. So, obviously it's a risk, high reward, low risk, And I really feel like he can, fit the places where we need to fit. Sean Payton said he may play this week, may not. I think I saw a report that's saying that, they're leaning towards playing him a little bit. We'll see. I think he should be starting in their game 1, see how he does in man. I think we can go back to man with Apple and just see what we can do here. I think we're playing too much zone. I think some of the schemes that Dennis Allen has put up have not been the best, and I think we're going to have to get better at that point. Too much, zone. We're dropping back so far, only having 2 men, rush the passer. That's just not, it's not going to work. Especially against the good teams. We're playing a good team this week against the Vikings, and then we also have to play the Rams. And I feel like, to win, and I feel like to be consistent, and especially in the playoffs, we're going to have to play more man and get it done there. I think Lattimore can get it done. Now it's really up to, who's ever that second quarterback going to be. I really hope I know Eli Apple can be that person, but I think, it's still up to, question. I think Eli Apple will be better at especially the motivation part. And when he's motivated, he's played really, really good. So I feel like he can be a big pickup for us. I mean, other things that, he does really well. I think he plays a man really well, but he also plays in zone. He's also really young, so he's got a lot to learn. And I feel like that can really help, himself and just, everyone around him. They're all pretty young. They could all learn together. And, through the year, they get better for the playoffs. I think that would be really, really big there. And just another thing with Apple, I mean, he also has some pretty, besides turning his head, he has some pretty good technique, but he doesn't really catch a lot of picks. I think that's kind of a big thing. He's only had one pick in his career, which is about 2.5 years now. So I mean, also contract not that high either. I think only we owe him $1 million this year and only $2 million next year. So you'll take that. He fits right in. We didn't actually have to restructure anyone, and I think we could actually, I think we could ahead of the trade deadline. I think we can be, a little more aggressive. Maybe not on the defense. Maybe get an offensive piece. I think we'll see with that. If this is our only move, I think that's a successful trade deadline, but I think we will see here. I was surprised by this move because, usually Mickey Loomis doesn't make any moves, so I feel like, coming in, it was a good move, successful move, and we'll see what happens. If he does not play good, I mean, we only have a 4th rounder. It's not that big of a deal there. So now onto our second slot of news. I mean, obviously a much more minor piece, but, the Saints signed offensive guard Chaz Green, and, Josh Laribas was put on IR. Josh Laribas played really, really good, with Andrews Pete out. I'm hoping Andrews Pete is now healthy, and he can play a really good left guard, because he is a really good left guard. So if he can play up to his potential, he will be strong there. And, I think Chaz Green, he played for the Cowboys before. He wasn't awful. He gives us good depth, just in case we need another backup. But I would play Cameron Tom instead. But Cameron Tom played very, very good. And I think, I think this week, especially if there's an injury, I think Tom will step in there. I think Green can be better than Tom in the future, but I think for one game, I feel like, it seems like Tom's the better player there. I feel like our offensive line has been really, really strong. Our depth's been really good. We played another good, defensive line this week, so I think we'll see what happens. But I think we are in good shape, just with our whole offensive line, the state of our offensive line there. Now on to our Saints-Vikings preview. We'll do like we do every week. We'll first do the notes, then our storylines, and then our position preview. Again, we talked a little about this on the Who Dat NYC podcast, so, if you want to check that out, definitely do that, get more viewpoints. But I'm going to give some notes here, and I feel like this could be, there's a lot of storylines coming into this game. First, obviously, we'll start with the notes, but, there's a lot of things to go down. Sunday night for a reason. A lot of people are going to want to see it, and should be a very entertaining game. But some notes here, Minnesota, they are favored in this game, 1-point favorite, and, the Saints only have a 44% chance to win, looking at the matchup predictor by ESPN. And a lot of people are picking the Saints in this game. Very few I've seen so far. So, I mean, I guess we're an underdog in this game, but I think it'll be a very, very tight game there. I mean, obviously, coming back, this can be a redemption game for the Minnesota Miracle. I believe how much time it was, about 30 seconds. I mean, I want to get that play out of my memory. Obviously, Stephon Diggs makes a play. Marcus Williams misses a tackle there. I'm not going to go into talking about that, but that's what happened. If anyone doesn't know, I believe everyone knows, but we're going to look to get over that. And I think Marcus Williams is going to have a big game in this one. I think he's going to have his signature game of 2018. I really do. We'll obviously get into it a little later, but I think he's going to be very, very good there. And I think the whole Saints team is going to be motivated to get this win. I feel like they don't think there's a redemption factor, though. There is. I mean, I don't think they're going to say it, though, to the media, but I really do feel like they have something to prove. Looking at, I think this whole secondary is going to have something to prove. I think they're going to have their best game this game. I really do. I feel like they're going to be very, very good in this game, and it may propel us to a victory here. I think that's going to be a big, reason there. Another note is that, the Saints are playing in Minnesota, and they're going to Minnesota for the third time in 13 months about. I mean, obviously that's, it's a small amount of time to go to a place 3 times and play. I mean, now we are 0-2 the first time, so hopefully third time's a charm here. I really feel like this could be a turning point game to the season. I mean, obviously we're having a great season, but this could be an emotional win here. Obviously, now look, if we play, bad, that could happen probably too, and we lose on the road, it's going to be tough, but I feel like this is going to be an emotional game. I think the team will come out, fiery and ready to win a game. I really feel like, and they're going to win it. Obviously we've won it for Drew the last couple of games. This game, I think we're going to win it for, Marcus Williams, and we're going to see that, I think we're going to win a different way this time. I think this is going to be more of a higher scoring game. Maybe not very, very high scoring, but I feel like it's going to be a little more high scoring here in this game. But onto our storylines. You're just looking at it. I mean, obviously, the rematch of the Minnesota Miracle in that divisional football game, that was the best playoff game besides the Super Bowl. I think that was the best one. And I think what we're seeing here is that, the Saints were 20 seconds short from being in an NFC Championship game, So I feel like, it's a rematch here. I think they're evenly matched teams. I think the Vikings have got a little worse. We'll get into the injury report a little later, but because that's going to be huge. The Vikings were coming in very, very healthy in that playoff game, and they're not right now. They're not healthy at all. Saints are relatively healthy, but I feel like that would be different. But I feel like third time could be the charm for the Saints here. Now, looking to the injury report. So now we're only going to have Thursday's injury report because, we're recording this, before Friday's came out. But looking at the Saints injury report, there's not many players on it, which is obviously a really, really good thing. The only player that missed practice was Mitchell Lowen, who's, a reserve, in the defensive line. But it looks like Andrews Pete was going to play. Max Unger is now a full participant as well. I think he was limited on Wednesday, but now he's full on Thursday. Also looking at Taylor Stallworth, who missed Sunday's game against the Ravens. He is, full practice, ready to go. And also you got to look at Karen Meredith, who didn't really have a big game against the Ravens. He was limited on Wednesday. Thursday he was full practice. Same with Teron Armstead there. And, really, the only player that didn't practice was Lowen, and then also Jamon Bushrod, who's, obviously not injury related. Obviously still give your prayers to him. He's just such a great guy, and, what happened to him is, just so sad. So, hope he gets better here, take as much time as he needs here. But then you look at the Vikings, and they have a lot of injuries to key players. So first, we'll go right into the offense. We'll start off with, they don't have as many on the offense, but one huge one, Dalvin Cook is not playing in this game. They've already ruled him out. They ruled him out basically at the starting practice. That's huge, but I feel like our running has been better of late. This whole year, our running defense has been really, really good. So I feel like that would have probably been an issue anyways. But then also looking at their offensive line, tackle Riley Reif, he was limited in both practices. So we'll see if he plays, doesn't play. It's going to be probably, a questionable game time decision. I think that's what they're looking at. Also, Linval Joseph, he is probably going to be questionable. He was limited both practices. So we'll see if he's ready to go too. Losing any of them would probably be a big loss for them. Two starters in the trenches. That's big for us. And we always like to win the trenches. So not having, either or one, or if they have both, that's obviously really, really big for them. And also there were 5 Vikings that didn't participate, on Thursday's or Wednesday's practice. And that's Xavier Rhodes, who obviously the cornerback. Mike Thomas played him, a lot. Right now you miss 2 practices. Unless you're playing full Friday, I don't think he's going to be able to go. Dalvin Cook, we know, is out here. And then also, safety Andrew Sendejo, who I believe had a pick in the playoff game. He is, didn't play either too. That's, I think, the same situation as Rhodes. We'll see if he practiced Friday. If he doesn't, I don't think he's going to play either. Anthony Barr doesn't look like he's going to play. And then going back to the guard, he doesn't play. He didn't practice either, both of those practices. So I feel like that's going to be a big thing for them. All 5 of those players are starters, so if they miss all 5 of those players, I think that's a huge tilt to the Saints' favor. Huge tilt. So I feel like, we're going to see that there. And then there were also 4 full participants, and that was Anderson Griffin, who is non-injury related. He may not play against the Saints either because just, he was out for a long time, so getting him back in the swing of things is going to be tough because he had the issues non-injury related. Also, that's really it there. So I feel like, they have a lot of injuries. That's going to be a huge factor. If they don't have any of these guys go, that's like 8 starters. You're missing 8 starters. You're not going to be as good as you used to be for sure. And I feel like the Saints are going to take full advantage of that. So I feel like that's really, really big there. Also, looking at, just another big storyline is how the Saints played in the fourth quarter in this whole year. Obviously, also dated back to, the fourth quarter in the Vikings game as well. Great quarters. They've put up the most points in the fourth quarter. I believe it's 88 points. That's the most any team has ever scored, in the league this year. And I feel like also looking at it, very, very clutch moments. And you got to give that to Drew Brees. Look, obviously Kamara's made some clutch runs. Same with Mike Thomas making some big catches. But I feel like Brees has been the guy that's been able to really, manage a team, rally a team, and get them to come back and win a game or, lengthen a lead in the fourth quarter. And I feel like, this is going to be huge this week, especially because I think they're going to play a close game. And if they can pull away in the fourth quarter, I think that would be really, really big there. Also, you got to look at the Saints' road success, which is, pretty crazy. That we're 3-0 right now on the road. And, we have one more road game, and then we have a home game, and then we go back on the road against the Bengals. So I feel like, if the Saints can win this game, that means they'd be 4-0 on the road. And that's halfway. To be 4-0 still at this point, that'd be amazing. You'll take 4 wins on the season, on the road, especially because then you can go, you're 6-2, 7-1, get your 11-5, 10-6, and make the playoffs. So if this team, they're starting off 4-0, that means, you're primed for a pretty, good road record, especially when they have some, I feel like, easier road games coming up after, even the Bengals a hard one, but even looking at, they play the Bucs again, which I feel like will be a little easier, and I think the Saints will be ready to play that game. Also, you got to look at the Cowboys, who are I don't think of the caliber of, like, the Vikings or Ravens or even the Bengals. So I feel like that's going to be really, really big there, but if they can keep playing good on the road, and that's obviously been a big, part to Sean Payton, the way he's got his team ready to play. They've been able to run the ball, they've been able to play good defense on the road, and that's been really, really big there. But now on to our position preview here, and first we'll start with the QB. And I mean, look, the Vikings, they do not have a bad QB. Kirk Cousins, we'll get into him a little later, but first, Drew Brees. I mean, obviously I'll take Drew Brees 100% of the time. I'll probably take him basically in every QB, maybe Brady, but besides him, everyone on our schedule this year, I'm taking Brees. He is playing like the MVP of the year, for sure. I mean, most valuable player for sure. I mean, looking at him, he's played with the best QB rating, or he's like second on there, best quarterback completion percentage. He has the best passer rating. Obviously, these are big stats. I mean, he's looked per game. Got to look at yards per game. He's very, very high on that, and I believe he's top 3. And also because he didn't play a game that a lot of players play because he had a bye week. They didn't. So you can't look at overall stats. They're going to be a little higher on there. But I feel like he's definitely played. Especially if the Saints keep on winning, he's played like the best QB by far. He's having his best season of his career. I feel, or one of the best seasons of his career, and he's channeling it back to when 2009, 2011, when he was just throwing all over the place. Now look, he's doing it in different ways, but he's still doing it, putting up really good stats and winning the same football games. That's obviously really, really big there. Looking at Kirk Cousins and the Vikings situation here now, I know Case Keenum, who was our quarterback last year, has not played good with the Broncos, but how much better is Kirk Cousins than Case Keenum, and how much more money did Kirk Cousins get? I feel like that's going to hurt. I think that hurt him, and I think it's still hurting him here because they really couldn't get any depth. They couldn't get, any really big upgrades because they were getting Kirk Cousins. And, when you have now Cousins, how much better is he, as I said, from Keenum? I don't think it's that much. He got a ton of money, and Keenum didn't get as much, and I feel like he's played good, but I feel like, how much better did he play than Keenum last year? Probably not that much better. I think it's more of a system QB here. So I feel like he's good, and he's played really, really good this year, but Brees is definitely the superior quarterback, and I think he's kind of hurting their team compared to Keenum because they would be able to spend more money there. Looking at the skill position players, I'm going to go Saints as well. They have pretty good skill position players. They have the best wide receiver duo in the league, I feel, with Stephon Diggs and Thielen. But without Dalvin Cook, I feel like, they're really severely lacking in the running game. I feel like Latavius Murray, he's actually played really, really good this year, 5 yards a carry, been good and all, but, he's not, I don't think, going to be a big problem for the Saints to stop him here. And if they make this, the Vikings one-dimensional here, I don't think Thielen, he's having an amazing season, career year, probably been one of the better receivers in the league, but I don't think that he's going to do very, very good against Lattimore because I think they'll put him one-on-one with Lattimore. I think Diggs has a chance to go off, as he did in that game, in the divisional round game, but I feel like Thielen's not going to have that good of a game. And then really beyond your two receivers don't really have much there. So I feel like, looking at Kamara, you're looking at Ingram, they're much better than their running backs. Mike Thomas, I feel like, is the best wide receiver out of that group of wide receivers. So that's going to be really big. Also, Ben Watson played really good of late, and also it looks like Traquan Smith slowly coming on to be the Saints' number 2 wide receiver there. Now looking at O-line, Saints, I think they have the best O-line in the league, so I'm going to pick them here as well. It's not like they have a bad O-line here, the Vikings, because Tom Compton's not a bad player. I'm looking at Rashad Hill at right tackle. They're not bad players. Riley Reif's their left tackle, and now he's doubtful on ESPN. They're putting him as doubtful. So if he doesn't play, I think that's a huge advantage to the Saints. Put Cam Jordan there, pin his ears back and let him play really good. I think the Saints' defensive line is going to have to capitalize that if Reif doesn't play. But looking at, Eflin's pretty good center. They're not bad, but I feel like the Saints have a better line. I feel like, especially now Pete's playing, Armstead will play. Max Unger is now full participant in practice. Looking at Walford, who's going to have that back injury the whole year, but it didn't look like it hurt him. He had a good week last week. And then also looking at Ryan Ramczyk, who's just been a rock there. He's played really, really good. So, got to give us the edge there. Defensive line. So here's the thing. I feel like the Saints, they kind of regressed last week in the defensive line. And not like Cam Jordan played bad, but I feel like the line as a whole didn't play that good. Looking at rankings, they stopped the run really good. Davenport didn't really do anything, so I think it's something to watch out for. But I'm gonna go with the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings, looking at, they've been very good, especially at stopping the run. But they've been able to rush pass pretty well. And now with Everson Griffin, if he plays, that's gonna be really big for them because now they'll be able to rush the passer a little more. But just looking at it, they need Joseph probably to play. That would be huge, stopping the run. Sheldon Richardson has been really good at stopping the run, so you got to give it to him there. Danielle Hunter hasn't been really that good in Griffin, his relief. Same with Stephen Weatherly, but looking at that, I'd be very, people are saying that, his Griffin may not play. So, I mean, even though he's a full participant, being out for that time, you're definitely, conditioning's not the same. So I feel like that's going to be probably an issue for him. Maybe he'll play a little bit. Looking at the linebackers, they have an amazing linebacker core. Looking at from, Eric Hendricks, Anthony Barr, those are some really good players. Anthony Barr may not play. He hasn't practiced either day. So if he doesn't play, I feel like the Saints have the edge there. If Barr does play, I feel like the Vikings have the edge. So we'll see there. The Saints have played so good against the run and against tight ends and really against running backs. And that's all because of the linebacking core. They've been the best, really the best group that the Saints have had, on the defense right now. The way Demario Davis is playing, he's looking like a Pro Bowl, linebacker, playing amazing. The way he flies around to tackle guys and sack guys, he's making big plays there, tackle for losses. You got to look at, AJ Klein, who a lot of people were making fun of him. A lot of people don't like him. He's played very, very solid this year. He's had a good year, and I think that, he's really been playing progressively better, so you got to look at that being good. Also, Manti Te'o came back, played a really good week last week, and then also I like the way Anzalone is playing. He's playing pretty good as well, too. So I feel like I feel like the Saints have definitely more depth in that group, but I feel like, if, Barr plays, he's a complete difference maker. He's, I think one of the better middle linebackers in the whole league. He's up there with Kuechly and guys like that. I think he's a very, very good player there. And then looking at, the cornerbacks, now this is an interesting one. Last year, this group was, the best in football, and they were playing really, really good with the Vikings. I mean, they have started with Zendejo, Harrison Smith is really good. Looking at, Xavier Rhodes, Trey Waynes, the same guys as last year. No one really different here. But looking at it, they've played bad. They haven't played good this year. Zendejo, hasn't missed both practices. So if he doesn't play, that's one of your safeties gone. I think is the better safety. Harrison Smith obviously really good too, but Zendejo I think is he brings the wood, he brings the mentality. Now Smith gets a lot of interceptions. He had a pick against the Saints, I believe, in that divisional game. So he's a good player, but I feel like it's going to be interesting to see him. Xavier Rhodes, I feel like Mike Thomas, going 1-on-1, that's going to be an amazing matchup if Rhodes plays. I mean, Rhodes hasn't played both games, so that could be really, really big there. But I feel like, if he didn't play any practices, he's not going to play. So I guess we'll see what on Friday. But, I think that's what we're looking at here. I mean, and then the Saints, they just got Eli Apple. If Eli Apple plays, and then you have, Lattimore has been really good. Von Bell's having a career year right now. Can they be better than the Vikings? Yeah. I'm going to just put it, they've both been playing really bad. I think the Vikings have more of a star power, so I'm kind of got to give it to them there. But I feel like very, very close there. I feel like the whole defense, the Vikings haven't had a good defense. The whole teams are very evenly matched, and I feel like the Saints have a little edge in a couple of places there. And also looking at coaching special teams, I feel like the Saints have the edge here. The way Sean Payton has been able to coach these last couple of weeks have been one of the best coaching weeks he's had, in a very, very long time, at least since that, 2011, 2009, very, very strong coaching weeks. Looking at the special teams has been amazing. The way Taysom Hill has been able to play. Will Lutz has been very, very solid. Thomas Morstead at punting the ball has been good. Justin Hardy looks like, one of the special teams players of the year. All this stuff, amounts to having one of the best, special teams unit in the game here. And I feel like that, the Saints have the edge there. I mean, it's not like they don't. The Vikings always have trouble kicking it, and it's continued this year with their kicker Dan Bailey, and their punter Matt Wild is not really anything. Really a no-name player here. No one really at the kick return, punt return. The Saints have a clear advantage there. I mean, coaching. Look, they don't have a bad coach. He's actually, I think, a very, very good coach in Mike Zimmer. But I feel like Sean Payton's better. I feel Sean Payton has the ring. I feel like he's a better play caller. I feel like he's just I think a step above. You got to look at how many years Sean Payton's coached compared to Zimmer. I mean, he's better there. So I feel like that will really wrap it up for our group preview. And now just to our our projected score here. I'm going to go 24-21 Saints in a very, very close game, but I think the Saints get their redemption. And as I said on the Who Dat NYC podcast, I think it's going to come down to, the Vikings driving in the red zone, and who else but Marcus Williams is going to get the game-winning pick. You heard it here first, guys. I mean, I just feel like, Marcus Williams, I think he's going to have a big game, and I think he's going to be a reason the Saints win. I feel like the Saints secondary is going to play very, very good against a very, very high-powered, high-octane Vikings offense, and I feel like the Saints are going to gut this one out and get a win here. I had them winning here on my, season preview, and I'm going to stick with that. I feel like I've seen more from the Saints really at this point then I feel like this team's a better team than last year. I feel like they've found other ways to win. That's obviously really, really big. I feel like this team is more battle tested, and I feel like we control the trenches much better this year than we did last year. But I feel like, that's what we're looking at there. And I feel like, I'm just looking at it. I mean, this could be, I think last week was helping a turning point. I think this week can be another big turning point. Keep that momentum going could be really, really big for this team. So now on to our Who Dat Nation fan questions. And we got a lot of questions this week, as our last episode on Monday was, our highest viewed episode, to date, obviously over 1,000 views. Just to think that, my podcast gets over 1,000 views for even one episode, it's just amazing. But on to our first question. Our first question is from Who Dat 231341 on Podomatic, and he asks, what are the things to look forward as the deadline approaches to? So I feel like, the things that I would look for and look what this team's going to do. I feel like they got their cornerback in Eli Apple. That's obviously really, really big there. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Saints got, a veteran wide receiver because Ginn's on IR. So, I mean, it's not going to be a big trade, but I feel like maybe a small trade to get a player. Someone was saying, Larry Fitzgerald. I don't think Larry Fitzgerald will come to this team, but I feel like a player, that veteran receiver that, in big moments is going to make pretty good plays. So think of a Ted Ginn type player, veteran, that can make big plays in big moments. And I feel like that's what we're going to look forward there. I mean, looking at anything else this team can get, I don't think they're going to want to get a big player just to mess up the chemistry. I don't think they're going to do that. And, Mickey Loomis is not even known for making, trades at the trade deadline. So, we'll see here, but I feel like, I think that's what we're looking at there. So now on to our next question by, Who Dat 91341, excuse me. And he said, with this daunting stretch in these next two games, do you think this team will show its true colors? I feel like it is. I feel like looking at the first game, we won that. But now next two games are going to be even bigger. And I think this team is showing their true heart, their true colors. And it's a team that's, they're going to find ways to win. They're playing really good in the fourth quarter so far. And I think that, we are finding our true identity to this team every week. So I feel like that's really big there. On to our next question by Saints fan 23, and he asks, is this team a serious Super Bowl contender? And I'm going to say yes. To me, this team is the biggest team to, beat the Rams. They're undefeated. Next week, that's going to be a crazy game, and I think that's going to be a game that the Rams circle. They're like, if we're going to go undefeated, we're going to have to win this game for sure. And I think it's going to game that's going to be hard for the Rams to win, but I think we'll see it coming up. But yeah, I feel like we are. I think we're ready. I think we're battle tested, and I think Sean Payton knows this is a year, and we are shot. Look, this team has the all the ingredients to be an amazing team and one of the best in the league, and I feel like right now it's playing as one of the best in the league. They're one of three teams to have only one loss or less. That's obviously really, really big there. And I feel like this team, I mean, look, they've beaten some good teams already, and I feel like during this stretch we'll see if they can beat some more good teams. So I feel like we'll see what we got there. So now on to our next question from Domegoer9. He has, will a banged up Minnesota team help us? And I feel like, yeah, I mean, he's just looking at it, yeah, if they're hurt, it's going to be much better for us. And I think that's just, pretty simple. They have a lot of starters that may be out, and I know Sean Payton's going to, attack the, substitutions, and we're probably going to have some positive plays because of that. And I feel like, also, look, when you have a lot of guys injured on your team, your morale is just not as good. I mean, look at the Falcons, who have a lot of talent on that team, but they're only 3-4 because of a lot of injuries. Now, that's obviously one of many reasons why they're 3-4. They haven't been able to close out a lot of games, but, that's really what it is. When you have a lot of injuries, your morale gets lower, and that's going to be bad for the Vikings. So now on to our next question by Saints fan since 83, and he said, do you think we need a player or another cornerback added to Apple, especially the way, Crawley or, PJ Williams are playing? What do you think here? And I'm going to say that no, they're not going to get another cornerback. Look, they could potentially add another one and then put Eli Apple in the slot, but I don't see that. I don't think there's a need to do that, and I think that we could be a very good team without, of that stud, Patrick Peterson. And I don't think we needed a Patrick Peterson. And the Saints, these last couple of years, they haven't got the studs. They haven't got the stars. And they haven't needed them. They haven't. They've drafted them, and I think they're building around that with complementary players. And I think that continue with the Eli Apple trade. I mean, we've missed out on a couple of stars. Maybe it was the best for us. So I feel like now, we're going to look to try to get, complementary players that help this team win, now. And look, with stars come egos. That's another thing. So, I mean, complementary players, and you have other stars that are good stars that don't have egos. That's the best you can do here. Sometimes adding all the stars is not the best there. So our next question was from Whodat92343, and he asked, do you think Eli Apple was the right move? And yes, I do. Look, as much as I would love Patrick Peterson, I feel like Apple, he does what we need right now. He's gonna replace Ken Crawley or PJ Williams and do it with flying colors. And to me, I think he's twice as better. Right now, look at Pro Football Focus. He is like in the 30 range. I think he's like 30 out of like whatever how many quarterbacks are in the league. I think Crawley's like in 80th, and PJ Williams, is not much ahead of him, but I feel like that's big there. Also, from Whodat234313, he asked, where would Apple play? It seems like the Saints are going to play him on the outside. That's what it seems like it's going to be. They're going to play him on the boundary. He's a better, I think, on the boundary, but he could also move inside if we need him be later in the season. And then our final question from Whodat412313, and he asked, do you think the team actually thinks this isn't a revenge game? And I'm going to say this team thinks it's a revenge game, and they're not saying it to the media. This team, really saying that the Vikings took, a chance at the Super Bowl away from this team. And I think that, this team's really not happy about that. And I think that they're going to come in and they're going to play like we have something to play for. We have something to avenge here. And I think they do think it's a revenge game. I really do think that. They haven't said it, but I really, really do think that Marcus Williams is going to want to shine. I think that looking at, Lattimore, the whole, secondary, they got embarrassed and they want to shine there. And then also looking at the offense, they had a bad first half in that game, and I think they're just going to want to have a full, end-to-end, really, really good game here. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints surprised a lot of people and won by a lot. But I think it's going to be very, very close. But I wouldn't be surprised if especially if a lot of injuries could help the Saints do that. And, I feel like this game is just, it's a big game for us, especially on the road, Minnesota. I had us winning this game, one of the road games I had us winning early in the season. I thought it was going to be a turning point for us when I projected, this Saints season. And I feel like this would be a big game for us to win there. So with all that said, I think it's time to wrap up this podcast. So, if you enjoy this podcast, please follow us on Twitter at the WhoDatDis, on Instagram at WhoDatDiscussion, on Podomatic at the WhoDatDiscussion, and then also subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe to our Google Play, subscribe to our iTunes, subscribe to our Spotify on there. We are at the WhoDatDiscussion, and then please, leave comments, leave reviews, rate us. It's just really big to see, how we're doing, what we're doing good, what we need to improve on. That just be really, really big there. And then also, at the end of the WhoDat and NYC podcast, we talked about how to expand this podcast because, look, I think it's time to maybe do a little expanding here. We're obviously past now 25 episodes. That's obviously really, really big feat, for us. So, where is this podcast going to go next? I'm thinking of a couple of ideas, and I think I'll put up a poll on Twitter, see what people think. So I'm thinking like a couple of things here. First, a live episode. That could be a good, way to get fans on here. You could ask me live questions. We could either do it from Periscope or from, YouTube Live, stuff like that. I feel like that could be good there. If you just maybe we'll do it Sunday at 11 Eastern time, just see, just right before the game, see what we can, see how many people we can get on and, talk some Saints football. That'd be cool. Also, maybe an article a week. If, writing an article, either about a certain play or a player or, the game coming up. It won't be a preview or anything, but it would be more of an editorial piece on where we're going. That's also an option. Look how to create more of a website for the podcast then, and then, write articles on there. If you guys, like reading articles and stuff and you want maybe, player evaluation, stuff like that, that would go in there. It wouldn't be previews to games, but it'd be, more player, evaluations and stuff like that. Or, more of a third thing would be doing a film study or stuff like that where, we can just break down a play on a YouTube video or something like that. I can also do that too. I'm really adding down to those three things there, and we'll see how we can get in the future to have not just the podcast, have a little more, maybe have a different show or two, because I feel like this podcast has done really great so far, and I'm really hoping just to expand a little bit and get more of a following. That's all we want to do. So more episodes we put out, more types of of segments we do. More people are going to see it, and it's going to expand more. And also I get to talk to more Saints fans, which I really want to do. That's my goal here: talk to Saints fans. and that's just obviously a really, really big thing. And how many Saints fans, I was talking to, this week, because last episode was amazing, last couple of weeks, really since, my trip to New Orleans, this podcast has been, blowing up right now. Really some great stuff. I love talking to everyone, and it's just, it's been a blessing, to talk to everyone. Obviously, the Saints are doing really good as well. That's obviously helping just, this team's doing good this year. When I start the podcast, it's just amazing stuff. I mean, a lot of teams, they have letdowns after they have a good season, but right now, we're 5-1, looking really good, and, now on to Minnesota. I think we're flying out there probably tomorrow, or maybe late tonight, but probably tomorrow, and then, we're going to play, in Minnesota and try to get a win there. I think that'll be really, really big time to, avenge a loss, and I think that's going to be really, really big there. So with all that said, I want to say thank you, prove them right, and who dat?